This is the Balanced Growth Show with Dr. Travis Perry, helping successful business professionals like you achieve balance in their lives.
Welcome to another episode of the Balanced Advisor podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Perry. Today, we are joined by Mark Willis. Mark is a CFP and a man on a mission to help you think differently about your money, your economy, and your future. He's also a 3-time #1 best-selling author and the owner of Lake Growth Financial Services, a financial firm in Chicago, Illinois. He's a co-host of the Not Your Average Financial podcast. He shares some of his strategies for investing in real estate, paying for college without going broke, and creating income in retirement you will not outlive. Mark works with people who want to grow their wealth in ways that are safe and predictable to become their own source of financing and create tax-free income in retirement. Welcome, Mark, to the show.
Hey, glad to be on, Travis. Thank you.
Absolutely. This is pertinent. I'm sending a child off to college here, my daughter, in about 2 weeks. So paying for college without going broke is a big part of the plan. But I love what you're doing. We chat a little bit in the pre-show about your out of the box, not so ordinary financial advising platform and how you've been helping your clients really by showing them, hey, this is who I am. So you've done some books, you're a podcast host. But before you did all that, did you ever imagine you'd be a financial advisor and you'd be doing all these great things to reach your audience? Tell us, how did you get here? What was your path to becoming who you are today?
I think a lot of us financial planners, financial advisors, we start out of a mode of ignorance and just sort of are in an uphill climb. And we don't realize that we end up becoming experts in the very thing we felt so inadequate at. When I was 5 years old, I had a big paper bag full of money from all the lemonade stands and allowance and everything. And I remember I'd gotten as much as $50 in there. Now, this is back in the 80s, right? So 5-year-old, 6-year-old kiddo with $50 to his name, that's like pretty good. But, my mom was trying to get me on board with this money thing and walked me to the bank one day and walked me in. And her job was to do the paperwork. And my job was to hand over my life savings in that paper bag to a stranger called a banker. And I didn't want to do it. I was skeptical, as a little 5-year-old should be, of this strange man who wanted to take my life savings. And little did I know how right on we were that money might have been even safer in my paper bag than in the banks. But that's sort of my beginning with money, if you will. Then fast forward, right after college, I'm in debt way beyond my eyeballs, $120,000 of student loan debt in 2008, graduating in 2008 with no plan. And I don't know if you remember, Travis, there was some things going on in the world in 2008. And since then, my wife and I have been on a mission to help people and ourselves really get back some sanity and balance, as you say, and just, awareness of this thing called money, have a healthy relationship with this thing called money. And so I ended up getting my certified financial planner designation. And, the rest is history. We've now helped over 1,000 clients around the country and around the world to take back control of their finances in ways that don't put them into any undue or unnecessary risk.
Yeah, I remember 2008 very well, my friend. That's the year before we decided to make a shift and go independent, start our own firm, just to watch the economy collapse. And man, it couldn't have chosen worse timing. Yet looking back on everything, it really did help me to have that same kind of moment of how do we make this happen? How do we pay back student loans? How do we dig out of the house that's underwater? And wow, we had an eye-opening experience that lasted several years and made us way more appreciative and, just smart in our investing and how we grow our business. So really appreciate what you're doing. What is your definition of balance as we shift this conversation to, the business and your personal? We were talking a little bit about balance before the show, but yeah, tell listeners, this is what you think balance is. This is what it is for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, balance is overcorrecting the last mistake you made. I mean, that's kind of what it is in a physical sense, right? If you think about what is balance, you're moving back and forth, overcorrecting your last mistake. And that's fine. That's part of life. Ultimate balance, I think, is equilibrium. And I'm actually trying to avoid equilibrium because that's biologically, that's the definition of death. Full, complete equilibrium with your surroundings. So we are fighting against this thing called equilibrium just to stay alive. The laws of gravity and entropy on our bodies are there to pull you down and rip you apart. That's what gravity and entropy are all about. And ultimately, that's what equilibrium is. So I know I'm getting a little deep here. I'm sorry, I should have told everybody to grab their scuba gear, but I've done some thinking about this, right? So balance is the fighting against equilibrium. And taking balance in and of itself is good, but what is the purpose? And this is what I loved about what you said before we hit record. What is the purpose of balance? I would suppose that the purpose of balance is your mission or the direction in which you're going. So, like when you let go of that arrow, it's flying through the air because you've correctly aimed it in the right direction, and it's constantly overcorrecting its last mistake, you might say, as the wind hits it and so forth. So balance is a means to an end, and the end is your purpose or your potential or your mission in your life, or in this case, our financial planning careers. And if you don't have balance, you're going to flame out, man. You'll burn out quick. You'll hit that equilibrium in not a good way. So balance is something that I think is one of the tools in our toolbox to help us achieve our best potential, which is hopefully serving our families and serving our clients at the same time.
Yeah, you mentioned something there that's really important. We talk about it in the book, Achieving Balance. I honestly, I'm shared this often on the podcast. I wanted to call this book The Myth of Balance, but there were more than one myth. and I was like, wow, well, let's talk about it in a positive way. And my wife kind of convinced me, like, be positive about it, but, expose the myths. And so there's 3 main myths. And the first one is doing everything at the same time, which kind of harkens back to your comment about equilibrium. And in reality, I think balance in our minds, because of how it's been sold since the 1990s, really, or even 80s, that we've got to somehow be equal in every area of life. It's not possible. You can't do it. And because of that, I think a lot of consulting and time management stuff have been sold us that's actually helped us to become less balanced, to lose that sense of true balance, which I think you can achieve by really focusing on what's most important to you. And that's what I found with advisors over and over again. They've told me, Travis, it's when I'm feeling connected to my spouse. Travis, it's when I'm able to be healthy, or when I'm connecting with God. Like, usually it's those 3 that really rise to the top every time. So I love that you mentioned that, man.
Well, thank you. And, if you'd be willing, before we hit record, you shared a really cool metaphor about a bicyclist. Would you be willing to share that again with your audience?
Yeah. Yes. Turn back on me. We were talking about just, balance. It's stagnant. Like, yes, we're balancing as we're standing here, but I just had this thought because I ride my bike every day. If I'm stopping at an intersection, you see that guy or gal who's on a bike and they're trying to just keep their balance without falling over. That's not balance. That's just stagnation, right? But you've got to move forward. That's why we talk about growth. And this is a great lead in, because if we're not growing, if we're not moving, if we're not achieving goals that we set, that's true balance, is when we're actually achieving those goals. So I appreciate that, Mark, for that insight. And the podcast has really morphed this season into, let's talk about growth. How are you growing your business while keeping that sense of balance? So Mark, for you, it's like, well, why are you plowing up that hill so fast? How are you doing it without falling over left or right balance? I think that's even a better way of putting it.
Well, I think our capacity increases our potential. And when you increase your capacity, you increase your potential. So people love to talk about potential. Wow, this kid over there, he has such potential. And it's a great thing. To achieve your potential is a great thing. But potential is a very dangerous substance. It's like nitro and glycerin combined, because the word potential is wonderful on an 18-year-old kid, but like the worst word on my gravestone is he had such potential. Like that would devastate me, to see that. So your capacity is increased when you are working out. When you fight back against entropy, you're increasing your capacity. So like when you're working out at the gym, you're literally ripping your body apart. Like muscle fibers are being destroyed because and science says that we'll grow back bigger, we'll grow back stronger. So you increase your capacity and thereby you increase your potential. So again, the more you can increase your capacity, the more you can increase your potential. So back to your comment about growth, if I can find a way to balance a heavier barbell and lift it, then I can increase my capacity, which then increases my potential. And it's like an upward staircase. It just kind of goes up and up and up and up. The more you can lift, the more you're able to lift, and so on and so on. And that's true with, the things of our lives. So what I like to try to do is I check out at 4:30, I'm done. Clock's out. I'm not going to be staying late. I don't care how important that client was. They have to know that I've got dad duty starting at 4:30 p.m. every day. Okay. And I've got my Friday mornings off, and I've got my Saturday mornings off, and I've got my Sundays off. And so I try my best to keep my hours very much in check, because time and energy and attention are really the three commodities or currencies besides money that we all have: time, energy, attention, and money. That spells team, I just realized, TEAM. But those are the four currencies of our lives. So we only get so much of them. You only have so much time in a day, only have so much energy, only have so much attention. And money is certainly it's probably the least finite resource given the Federal Reserve and such. But anyway, it's the currencies of our lives. And if we can increase the capacity of time, energy, and attention, we can increase our potential, which is ultimately to serve our clients and undergird the families that we're here to serve and love and protect.
Love that you set boundaries. Love that you understand capacity and potential. I love that, really that definition there that you had. And, great team acronym of the currencies of our lives. And it's beautiful. But you're doing something that only like 1% of financial advisors that I've ever interviewed is doing. And that is you're creating content that's evergreen. It's not a webinar. It's not some marketing thing. It's content. You're a best-selling author. You've got a podcast, like those two ways to have, content that's evergreen out there in the world. How has that helped you to scale the business?
Well, it's because of my own laziness, to be honest, Travis. If I have a library of content that helps answer a pernicious question that clients are asking over and over and over again, I can either sit there and peck on my email keyboard, every single day for the rest of my life, answering that same question over and over again, or I can give absolute attention and thought to an episode or a blog article or a podcast or a book that gives a true, complete, and well thought out and accurate answer, so that I can share that link to, the next 30 clients. That's where the podcast started. It came out of my own desire to really give the best answer possible one time, so I wouldn't have to always answer it over and over again. And that's where it started. What it's become now is a place for us to bring people into our universe. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, it just draws a person in, and then now you got to go check out these 15 other movies and TV shows aplenty, right? I think financial planners and professionals of all kinds can create their own Marvel Cinematic Universe, in that you've given somebody now a taste of who you are, and then they can find this over there and that over here. And before you know it, they are in your orbit and they are trusting you. The basics of all business: know, like, and trust. Well, how are they going to choose the guy down the street or the gal down the street if you have helped them with solving some of their aha moments in their own financial life because of your blog or the book you wrote or the podcast or the YouTube channel you have, et cetera, et cetera. So building, I think, a micro famous platform. I don't think we all need to become Steven Spielbergs or anything here, but if you can create a devoted audience of 1,000 people who can't wait to hear what you have to say next, you will never be for want in this business. We're not selling cans of beans here. We're changing lives. So we need to show up with that kind of enthusiasm and desire to help people think different about their money, their economy, and their future.
Yeah. This abundance mentality, like there's enough clients, right? There are plenty of clients out there that need our help. I've seen stats showing that even those in their mid 40s and 50s still don't have a financial planner or advisor. And they may not, they probably don't have their own plan. Most don't spend the time to do it. Yet they have wealth and they have needs and issues. How are we serving them? And what I found is exactly what you're saying there is like create, a base of raving fans, 1,000, right? Even just 1,000 that just love your content. Find your people. We call it a niche. If you're into Michael Port, he calls it a fractal, not a math fractal, but it's more of a fraction of an audience, and you really get famous. He calls it being fractal famous in that audience. Get niche famous, however you want to call it. And as you're able to help and serve them, they will realize that you're the man, the woman to help them with their said problem. So I love that you're specializing in that. Would you say that the podcast or the books have helped you to do that better?
I don't know if there's one or the other. There's certainly a benefit to having a regular, recurring micro dose versus a large book, but the book itself can be the best business card you'll ever have. I think it did hit all three of the books that I co-authored have hit best-selling lists, all of which have brought us clients straight cold off the street. But I believe that the podcast it's just an ongoing, regular conversation I get to have with existing clients and new people who are just learning about us. But I'll tell you this, back to balance too. There's a quote by Daniel Hanush. He says, when your visibility exceeds your ability, it destroys your credibility. And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks when I first heard that. When your visibility exceeds your ability, it destroys your credibility. So I would rather folks have one blog post that's well done, well written, whatever, so that your visibility does not exceed your ability. So if I have an incredible platform and 17 books and 3 podcast shows, each of them are kicking out a show a week. I've got a YouTube channel with 100,000 subscribers. But if I am not serving my clients well, and I'm not getting any referrals, and I'm not able to return calls or whatever, then my visibility has exceeded my ability. And that's going to end up destroying, your credibility in the long run. So lean on experts, guys like Travis, lean on experts that know what they're doing to help you increase your capacity, to increase your ability. And so you can stay true to your calling as a financial professional.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And the plug with the Balanced Growth Show and the podcast, this Balanced Advisor podcast, we're actually doing a show. So likely this will air as this is already going in September. We're going to start this kind of a group interactive live, show where we can be discussing balance and growth all at the same time. And what I found with doing so many interviews, interviewing now over like 600 financial advisors, they want both. They want balance and they want growth. They want to be able to move forward, not just stay stagnant on the bike, right? So, this is something that we've added to our repertoire of helping advisors who are wanting to scale with content, with a podcast, with a book. I'm like you, I like to partner with smart people. So we have a publishing team that works with us, a podcast team, and we connect you with those, but then we also help with the marketing aspect. And we found that you're exactly right. The book is the number one best, business card you'll ever have. It has done wonders for us. I appreciate that. We're going to jump here to, being a little bit more vulnerable. Where would you say are some of your most difficult issues, your biggest issue, without, losing that balance while scaling it? Because you've done a great job, but maybe what are some of those things, your Achilles heel, Mark?
Well, some of it is all about me, and some of it's the extenuating circumstances of the world around us. I would say that the hardest part is letting go and letting somebody else do it 80% as well as you could. I've got an old saying. Somebody taught this to me. They say that, when you don't know how to start the lawnmower, you don't have to cut the grass. And so the answer to your question is hiring. Hiring has been a struggle for us over the last year and a half. Again, some of that has to do with the prevailing economy and more. But I would also say, hey, there's always people looking for work. And I'd say the hardest part is just saying, you know what, 80% of what I might be able to do myself or one of my officers could do is good enough, and bring them in and help train up the person who can do it, 500 times better than I could ultimately. But it's that letting go of the handlebar of the lawnmower to let somebody else cut the grass, and even forgetting how to start the lawnmower. I think it's okay to, obviously you want to kind of find balance here, right? But the difficulty of hiring over the last year and a half has been profound. And thankfully we just hired, and we're in the middle of interviewing some more for a separate position. But, we're in that growth phase in our business where every hire counts, and you want to pick the right person, Travis. So I'd say that's our biggest struggle as a financial firm right now. There's just, I guess it's sort of a humble brag too, like, hey, wow, we're growing, we need to hire more, blah, blah, blah. But the honest truth is just letting go and giving it to a team member. That can be a really scary thing for a business owner to do.
Yeah, we talk literally every time on the show about delegation, letting go, finding employees, so much that we started doing webinars with some of my partners at the Make Time Institute. And we talk about this concept. And it probably shows up in every other podcast or so. But we talk about delegation and what a struggle it is. So I appreciate you opening up, and someone who's been as successful as you, still struggling with it. But I like the concept. I'm going to point this out. Letting go and letting somebody do 80% as good as you. Boom. Like, that is a mind-blowing idea, because I think sometimes we're like, no, I can't let this go unless I find someone as good or better than me. Mm-hmm. Which I hear this often. Well, I just hire better people. Well, that probably didn't happen at first.
No. Yeah.
It probably did not happen because you probably couldn't afford to. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. If you're a corporation and you're the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar firm, that's par for your course, right? You want that. But as you're starting and growing your firm, it's likely not the case. Likely not what's going on until at least later on. And maybe you upgrade after that. I get it. But there's a process involved, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think there's definitely a learning to be a good team player. I think many times the entrepreneur. Now, financial advisors can be in all sorts of situations. You can be an entrepreneur where you're running your own shop. You can be an intrapreneur where you are part of somebody else's shop. You could be a employee of a large financial firm. And so the hiring issue may not be relevant to some of your audience here, since we might have people from all various walks of life. But I'd found the best way for me to reach my own potential was to ask people for help and help other people. I think that's really the core of what it means to be an entrepreneur. Ask other people for help is the harder part, but then help other people. Well, that's something, hopefully you walk to the marketplace every day and have your skill set around your tool belt. But it's asking the other people for help. That can be the most difficult part, but it's the only way you can truly scale and to grow, is to say, hey, you know what, guys, I'm limited by my 40 hours a week behind this desk. I need someone else's help to scale up what we can do and help accomplish for our clients.
Yeah. And you're right. It's that first step of taking it. And there's some fear. There's some fear of failure, maybe even fear of success. If we get deep into the psychology of it, for most advisors, let's look at advisors in general. Mark, what do you think it is for most advisors when they're like, oh, my first hire or my first few hires, because maybe they hired once and didn't go well. and they backfire. I'm done. I'm just going to outsource maybe virtually a little bit here and there and do most of it myself. What would you say that most advisors struggle with in the industry as far as the hiring process goes?
Well, you can build your own little castle and serve, a small group of clients. And I wouldn't push back against that. I think there's a certain amount where that's a reasonable calling to just live your life and serve your 50 families or whatever it is that you can handle in your business. I think we have a retirement crisis in this country, and, to be responsible to the skills that I've been given and the things I've learned about money. I didn't come from wealth. I didn't have a silver spoon in my hand. And the things I've learned, and now I've been able to successfully help clients. It's only because at this level, it's only been because we've been able to ask other people for help, meaning my incredible staff, which are really my most important clients. And when I framed my understanding of my clients, of my best clients being my staff, it all sort of changed for me, because now I'm serving my staff so that they can serve all of our clients. And the more we can give out wonderful surprise gift cards and take them out for fun events and find ways to serve our staff members, now we've got the capacity to hopefully make a dent in this crazy financial world we live in and the retirement crisis that's looming for. Did you know that more baby boomers are going to turn 65 this year than at any other point? And so this means that every single day, this crisis gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So we need more people getting good advice from the people listening to this show. And we need more financial professionals, which is partly why we're training people to do that at our firm, to become financial professionals. And why I'm so glad you're helping financial professionals not burn out, but stick with it for the long term.
Yeah. And that's, you bring up kind of a hierarchy of priorities here. I mean, I was that advisor who started to grow my team and create partnerships and really all I was doing is quarterbacking. I was the planner that was outsourcing the insurance, the wealth management, the legal, the accounting, and I just created the team. And that's all I wanted to be, was the relationship manager with my clients. And I love that because I knew enough about each area that I didn't have to be the specialist. And I was growing my plan that way until I had a coach one day who said, Travis, I love what you're doing and you're doing it well. I just have this feeling that you're supposed to influence hundreds of thousands. And I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, this seems to be where your energy is going. And I basically fired her after that because I didn't need her to help me become a financial advisor. Yeah. And that was the path that we were on. She's like, I know you're going to fire me, but I need to tell you this. I'm like, wow, it totally changed my life. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Mark. And it's been an absolute pleasure to help other advisors not burn out, keep their balance, move forward, achieve their goals. But because I know it has an impact on their clients in the same way that you're helping your team, which is, again, once you have that team, how do you retain? How do you grow? How do you help them keep their balance? What comes into my mind is a balanced culture. So you've got great balance. You want to keep it. Not only are you incentivizing your employees, but let's talk about how are you helping to help them stay balanced as a team?
Well, I'll say, in addition to just building that culture, we put it right into the employee handbook that, we are not going to be calling you and don't respond to our texts if we try over the weekend or on holidays. We're going to make sure that we emphasize your families come first. We even build it right into the employee benefits. We're not sticking their money into things that they can't access or control. We want to make sure that they have, accessible cash in their employee benefits strategies. And this goes right down to how we help our clients too. I think if you help the clients lower the level of stress and drama in their money life, we're going to have fewer divorces in our clients than the American average. We're going to have maybe a higher life expectancy. We're going to have fewer heart attacks. The Journal of American Medical Association actually refers to this as a wealth shock. A wealth shock, whenever somebody actually experiences what's known as a wealth shock, This could be a 50% greater risk of dying early. So what is a wealth shock? This is, again, according to the Journal of American Medical Association. If the stock market drops by just 10%, then there's a subsequent rise in the number of heart attacks and diagnosis of heart disease. This is, again, it's shocking to say this, but right down to how we manage our clients' money and our staff's employee benefits packages, how we deal with their time off, how we deal with their clocking out at the end of the day, how we deal with the stressful clients when they've got an issue or need to deal with some issue, how we engage our staff, right down to like the words we use and how we communicate with them. It makes a difference in their overall sense of well-being and sanity, which, again, like you and I talked about before, sanity is one of those rare commodities in the financial professionals portfolio, emotional portfolio, that is.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking my language, and you're exactly right. I mean, as a financial planner or advisor, like, you're talking multiple areas of their life. Like, you're not just talking money, because it affects so many things. It affects their health. It affects their relationships. And this is probably one of the reasons why I got a degree in psychology and family relationships and human development. I wanted to understand not only how is stress affecting us, because my father passed away of a heart attack. He was 49. Mm-hmm. I couldn't figure out what was going on. He looked like me. He rode his bike. He was on his bike when it happened. Like, he wasn't a couch potato. I know that's those stats. But what was this silent killer that I needed to really figure out for myself and then help other advisors? So yeah, I really believe that what you do for your clients is what I'm doing for advisors, and that's helping them with all areas of their life. So many advisors I bring on, talk about this concept of life planning. And in my opinion, and others have said this before me, but good financial planning is life planning and vice versa. So, I mean, it involves both. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate this discussion. Advisors are out there trying to make it, they're trying to scale, they're trying to grow. They want that balance. That's why they're in their business. They want the flexibility that is kind of a two-edged sword. We've talked about some issues. You've summarized very well some of the issues that you've gone through and other advisors are struggling with. If you were to give these advisors some tips, a couple of pointers as we're closing out the show on how to grow and keep your balance, what would you say?
I think, if you want to chop down a tree with a butter knife, it's going to make your life a lot harder than if you have power tools. So find the right tools to effectively manage the project you want to make. I think if you want to reach your potential, you need to find the right tools. Potential is great when you're a kid. It's terrible on the gravestone. Potential of a rocket sitting on a launch pad is exciting. SpaceX rockets or whatever, it looks so cool sitting there on that launch pad. But what if 30, 40, 70 years went by and it just sat there? I mean, what a devastating disappointment to see a rocket just sort of fall apart on the launch pad. So part of my life, I think the lives that I want to help my clients lead, my staff, my family, my personal life, is to reach our potential. How far into the stars can you fly, and how can we work together to help you get there? That's why we've started training financial professionals, helping to give them the tools that they need to, communicate well with their clients, to be a little counterintuitive, to be not your average financial planners. And I think it's done better as a team than as solopreneurs out there, for sure. And I think continuing to refine with tools like this podcast, Travis, that you're doing. I'm not just blowing smoke here. I'm saying, you are making a difference to keep more people off of the, cholesterol meds and the heart attacks and the divorce tables and all the things that take us off our game of reaching our potential. I just hope that and sincerely pray that there would be more and more good quality financial advisors, planners, professionals, whatever you want to call us, doing the good work to help people reach their goals without, going through a bunch of anxiety, drama. There's plenty of that on the evening news. And it seems to be only more and more as we get into the this turbulent future this year and beyond. So, what could you do to help people hit that milestone, reach their potential? What a satisfying feeling, not only for your clients, but to meet and reach your potential yourself.
Well, thank you. I couldn't have said it better. It's all about reaching potential. Living your life on purpose is our whole tagline, and if you need help, we've got this podcast. Definitely listen, go back to other episodes. We've got the book, Achieving Balance, which you can find on the website, travisperry.com. So I appreciate that, Mark. Mark, if advisors want to reach out to you and learn from your wisdom and expertise, what's the best way they can reach out to you?
Well, thanks, Travis. Yeah, the project we've been working on lately has just been to really help see what if you could even see 10% of America get back some sanity in their money. And that's what we're working on, focused on, and helping clients achieve. So folks want to reach out to me. We can do a 15-minute discussion, just sort of chat about your business, your practice. You can go to kickstartwithmark.com to be able to sort of reposition or even add to your business something that would change the lives of your clients. That's kickstartwithmark.com.
Nice. Thank you for being on the show and for all your input.
Thank you. And thanks for all you do.
Yes. And if you've loved this, guys and gals, listeners of this podcast, if you love this, share this up with someone who may need it. Subscribe to the podcast and continually following this. And we've done a fabulous job in the, a few months we've had this podcast up, and it's because of you. It's because of your listenership, your loyal listening abilities. So thank you. And remember, as always, live life on purpose.